Welcome to No Rain Date, a community podcast about local news and people. No Rain Date is a production of Saucon Source, LLC. For more local news and information, please visit sauconsource.com. Hello, No Rain Date listeners, and welcome to another news roundup. I'm Josh Popachak, the publisher of Saucon Source and the host of No Rain Date, here with the headlines for the week ending May 15th, 2021. It's been another busy week in news here in the Saucon Valley and Southern Lehigh areas, as well as Upper Bucks and beyond. We will start off with news from Upper Saucon. There was quite an eventful meeting of the Upper Saucon Board of Supervisors this past week, and that's not always the case. They've had some very brief meetings recently. However, a number of issues came up at the May 9th meeting, May 10th rather. A couple of them involved some pretty exciting developments in terms of commercial properties. One story that we shared relates to the Promenade Shops and a new restaurant that is going to be opening there. The name of the restaurant is GNS Bella Mia Brick Oven Pizza and Francesca's Italian Cuisine. The owner of this establishment actually signed a lease to rent a space across from the Carmike Cinemas more than a year ago. Obviously, COVID-19 began and plans to open it sometime in 2020 went awry. And here we are in May 2021, and the owner was before the Upper Saucon Board of Supervisors seeking their blessing, their recommendation that she be approved for what is known as an economic development liquor license. Essentially, an economic development liquor license is a special type of license the state of Pennsylvania devised for establishments that want to open and have a full bar in counties in which there are no more liquor licenses available. That's common in Pennsylvania because the number of licenses is determined by population. Our population in Pennsylvania is not growing, so if anything, the number of licenses would decline, if that's even possible. I'm not sure, but the metric is that there is one liquor license permitted for every 3,000 residents in a county. Lehigh County has approximately 370,000 residents, so do the math, and that works out to be something like, I think, 130 liquor licenses, 125, something like that. At any rate, there were none available. The owner, Anna Maria Masiti, did attempt to purchase one on the open market, was unsuccessful, and that left her with no other alternative but to seek this license of last resort. Ultimately, it's up to the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board to grant this type of license, and they are selective. They only grant 2 per county each year. That was the information shared at the Upper Saucon Supervisors meeting. So there's no guarantee that she will receive one. However, it obviously is a plus that the township is on board with that idea. It makes sense because there are numerous other establishments in the Promenade Shops that have bars and have liquor licenses. There's no restaurant exactly like the one she's proposing. Obviously, it would have a custom-built brick pizza oven. That would sort of be the centerpiece. Inside, it's going to be a smaller restaurant with table seating for about 60 people and bar seating for about 15, she said. There will be some outside seating. It's going to be a atmosphere that is evocative of Italy, of course, and something like 24 or so different types of pizza are expected to be on the menu. I did not get a chance to see the menu, but I know a copy of it was circulated among the supervisors, and one of them quipped that he was wishing that as an exhibit for the hearing there had been a sample of some of the food that was on it, so everybody had a chuckle when he said that. No timeline was given for possibly opening the restaurant. It will probably depend on when the PLCB decides the fate of this application, but it was certainly exciting news for everyone who follows business in the promenade shops. There is a high vacancy rate there. There have not been many openings in the past. Going on 2 years, the last restaurant to open there was Pliables in 2019. Obviously, not much of anything happened in 2020 in terms of openings. There were closings, but due to the pandemic, most investors were too nervous to want to support opening a new establishment. There were a few, but certainly when you're opening a business in the promenade shops, additional capital is probably a requirement compared with some of the other locations you could be opening in around here. So we will continue to follow the story, of course, when G&S Bella Mia Brick Oven Pizza and Francesca's Italian Cuisine opens. We want to be there to celebrate the occasion and to let you know. We'll have photos of it. I'm sure it's going to be a lovely establishment, and looking forward to that day when they cut the ribbon on it. The other big news in Upper Saucon Township was the announcement that the Greater Valley YMCA will build a new branch of the YMCA in Upper Saucon, specifically on Preston Lane and Center Valley. The director of the Greater Valley YMCA, David Fagerstrom, was at the meeting to pitch the concept for this big branch to the supervisors. And it's important to note that this branch has been in the planning stages for quite a few years, at least 5 years, according to the Facebook page for the Saucon Creek YMCA. That's what it's going to be known as. The Saucon Creek branch will be serving residents of the Saucon Valley, Southern Lehigh, and East Penn school districts. So geographically, Southern Lehigh is in the middle of that swath of the Southern Lehigh Valley, and Center Valley is literally in the center of Southern Lehigh. So I can understand from a geographic standpoint why the Preston Lane location makes sense. It's also in close proximity to other public amenities, including the Southern Lehigh Public Library, which is right next door. Upper Saucon Township Community Park is across the street. DeSales University is right down the road, and it's very close to 378 as well. So major routes are close at hand. The YMCA will be leasing approximately 10 acres from Upper Saucon Township. This new facility will house an indoor pool, various exercise and meeting rooms, child care center. There's a long list of amenities that are going to be available there. Of course, many are health and fitness related because that's the YMCA's mission, to help build healthier communities. Just because it was approved does not mean that it's going to be built starting tomorrow. There's still a lot of work to be done, and that was made clear through the presentation and a news release that went out from the Greater Valley YMCA. There will be a fundraising feasibility study now that will take some months to complete, and essentially that will verify that there is the likelihood that the necessary funding, $12 to $15 million specifically, can be raised. The fundraising is expected to take up to 2 years, and then construction is forecast to take another 2 years. So realistically, the timeline for opening it is probably sometime in 2026 or maybe 2027 at the latest. You know, things can happen in the next 5 years. Hopefully we don't have another pandemic, but look how much that delayed a lot of projects. So it's exciting though, and it's something to look forward to. Certainly if you live in the area, we'll be reporting on developments as they occur. I'm sure the Greater Valley YMCA is going to do a great job of getting out information. They really want the community to be involved in the process, and that was clear to me from the presentation that the supervisors heard. And it's exciting. There hasn't been anything like this built in the area before, and I'm not sure when the last YMCA was built in the Lehigh Valley, but I don't believe it was within the last 10 or 15 years. So it's pretty big news for the area. In other development news out of Bethlehem, the Bethlehem Planning Commission met on Thursday and gave the green light for the construction of a Wawa on Route 412 near Commerce Center Boulevard. This is on the location of the former Chris's restaurant, which many Saucon Valley residents still talk of quite fondly. Chris's was a diner and truck stop near Saucon Park, and it was there for many, many years. Generations ate there. It's been closed for probably about 5 or 6 years now, and there's a chain link fence all around it. So the property has sort of become a little blighted, and that's going to change. The approval is for a convenience store that's close to 6,000 square feet in size. There will be 8 gas pumps under a canopy and 55 parking spaces. So picture your standard Wawa convenience store / gas station, and it will probably look something like that. The location is obviously critical, and why Wawa decided that they want to build in this location is because of the traffic. It's about midway between the 412 interchange at I-78 and the Wind Creek Casino in Bethlehem. So tens of thousands of vehicles pass by this intersection daily. It will be the closest Wawa to Hellertown when it opens. I know many Saucon Valley residents would like to see a Wawa or a Sheetz in Hellertown or maybe in Lower Saucon. The amount of land needed to build a Wawa makes the possibility of one being built in Hellertown, I would say, somewhat unlikely. This parcel is almost 2 acres in size, and there are some parcels approaching that size at the north end of the borough, but Wawa certainly isn't going to build another mega store with gas pumps less than a mile down the road. That's not how they space their stores. And as far as at the south end of town, there would not seem to be any parcel that is not flood prone, as far as I know, that would fit the bill. However, the south end of Hellertown is getting a Starbucks with a drive-through, and somebody asked me what the status on that is. This was first proposed a couple years ago. There hasn't been much work happening on it. I haven't noticed anything lately. I did read a report not long ago in the Morning Call that stated that the Starbucks is estimated to be opening in September. So that's in about 4 months. We'll see. I know they did some work before, specifically inside, removing like the bank vault and other things that were related to the Bank of America building. So perhaps they've done a lot of the preliminary work and they'll be able to come in and just sort of knock it out within a few months. But we'll be taking notice of that, and of course, once there is a firm timeline for opening it, we will report on that. In health news, we had some happy news to report out of St. Luke's. St. Luke's University Health Network is the recipient of a number of prestigious awards from IBM Watson Health. IBM Watson Health ranks healthcare facilities throughout the country every year. And the big news was that St. Luke's was ranked the #1 major teaching hospital in the country. And so this is a big deal. CEO and President Richard Anderson was in attendance at a special reception that was held at the Bethlehem St. Luke's Hospital in Fountain Hill. And a number of other hospital administrators were also on hand to discuss how important this is and the work that the hospital has done to earn such an achievement. Of course, COVID-19 was also a topic of discussion. This happened Thursday, which was also the day that the CDC announced that fully vaccinated Americans can stop wearing masks inside if they so choose. So sort of perfect timing for a reception at which there were a number of people. Of course, people were wearing masks and were spaced out. However, they were told, to feel free to remove their mask if they so chose. And everybody at the event was fully vaccinated. That was a request before it was even held. So it was nice to be there. It was a beautiful event, and St. Luke's received a number of other awards. Anderson campus, Miners Memorial Hospital, and the Allentown campus were all highly rated in this latest ranking by IBM Watson Health. So check out our story. We have a lot of photos from that reception as well. Summer is coming in Hellertown, and so are free concerts in Dimmock Park. The annual Music in the Park series is returning for 2021 after being canceled in 2020 due to COVID. The first concert will be held on Sunday, June 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. This is at the bandstand. There's a large grassy field right in front of the bandstand, so it's a perfect place to bring a folding chair, bring a blanket, and just relax. There will be food for sale from local food trucks, wine from Black River Farms Winery in Lower Saucon, and craft beer from Lost Tavern Brewing in Hellertown. A total of 4 concerts are going to be held as part of this series throughout the summer. We have all the dates, the names of the bands, and the different food and beverage purveyors that are going to be there in our story. So I think you're going to want to check that out and probably put some of those dates on your calendar, because these are fun shows. Country, rock, Craig Thatcher is going to be one of the performers. The Large Flowerheads are going to be there. They're always a big draw, performing 60s and 70s pop and rock. So we'll probably have a photographer at least one of the shows to get some fun photos of that. Those are the headlines for the week ending May 15th, 2021. Have a great week. Here at Saucon Source, our mission is to provide information and make it as available as possible to the people in our community. A large part of that is a public service, and we're grateful for the support we have from local advertisers, because that revenue helps keep the information flowing to you, our readers and listeners. Local news production does cost money, and that's why we've also introduced a voluntary membership option on Saucon Source, and we'd like to tell you a little more about that. Essentially, the membership is a recurring monthly contribution that shows your support for the work that we're doing. It helps guarantee that the information will remain free and accessible to you as well as to others in our community, and it also helps fund our future growth. Saucon Source is growing, and we're expanding our coverage area. The more support we receive from the community, the better coverage we can provide, and the more useful the site will be to you. So that's why we would invite you to visit our membership page on the website, sauconsource.com. You can do that by clicking on Join under My Saucon Source, which you'll see on the right side of your screen if you're on a desktop, or at the bottom of any article page. You'll see several membership options, including a monthly membership for $7, a 4-month membership for $25, or a yearly membership for $70. These are strictly voluntary contribution levels, and they're not any part of a paywall. There's no requirement to contribute, but we are grateful for those who have already done so, and we hope that you will consider purchasing a membership in the future. Doing so is quick and easy. You can do it securely online, and you can cancel at any time. Thank you again to all our current members, and thank you for considering becoming a future member. I am thrilled this week to welcome our very special guest, somebody who is well known to the world of sports and also those of us here in the Saucon Valley. 4-time Olympian, Joetta Clark Diggs. Thank you so much for being with us this week.
Thank you for having me, Josh. I'm excited to be on the show. Didn't have to go far to get here, so that's a good thing too.
Thrilled to have you here. I've only sort of recently, we've connected more recently, but over the years I've covered your daughter, Talitha, who graduated from Saucon Valley in 2019.
2020.
2020,
yes.
Okay. Wow, it was only a year ago.
Yes, a year.
There's that COVID again that throws off my internal clock.
Yes.
But I want to talk about her a little more later on. I want to start off with talking about you and how you got your start as a competitive athlete, going back to school days, and what first motivated you to become involved in athletics?
Well, sports was something that was introduced to me by my father and my mother, but my father is Dr. Joe Clark. He actually just passed in December of 2020, and so he was the subject of the movie Lean On Me. And when I was growing up, we did a lot of different activities, a lot of different sports, and for girls back in that time period in the 60s, 65, 66, 67, 68, during those years, there weren't that many sports for women. Title IX hadn't really come around yet. So I would run, and I did ballet and basketball and tennis, but there was nothing really organized really for women at that time, for girls at that time. So running seemed to be a natural fit. He had us run distance. My father believed that by running distance, it worked on discipline and focus, and so he said, you're going to run distance. We didn't have an option to talk back then. So luckily for me, distance was only 2 and 3 miles, so I kind of got through that. And so that's how it started. My brother is 2 years younger than me. And then at that time, I didn't have a sister, but I have one now that's 15 years younger. So she didn't come around until my senior year in high school, basically. But at that time, my father had us run distance and saying that it would develop character. And his biggest thing was that as parents, if you direct your children and you put them in a place and you help them, then they can do anything. So he said, you're going to do distance, we're going to do some training, we're going to go to meets, and you're going to run, and you're going to do well. So that's what happened. So I didn't have an option. He said, this is what you're going to do, and that's what we did, and I ran distance. I came down to middle distance eventually, but I ran distance and cross country since the age of, I would say, about 11.
And you grew up in New Jersey.
Yes.
So you were running just around your neighborhoods,
Running
or
in the neighborhoods, at the local parks, and on the streets. And we just run at the park and run at Wickway Park in Newark, and then we went to South Orange and run on the streets, do hill workouts. And then I got part of a high school team when I was 14. So that's when it came a little more organized. But up until then, it was with my brother. And then there was some summer club things that we did. Parents would have us go to various AAU meets at that time, is what they were called, and we would run those age group meets.
Did you ever participate in any other sports, like team sports or anything?
I did softball and tennis and paddle tennis.
Oh, okay.
Platform tennis, they call it. So I did those were my sports. But then when I got into high school, I started doing all 3 seasons, cross country, indoor and outdoor. So then it overlapped with the other seasons, and I was really good. And so I just stayed with cross country, indoor and outdoor track.
So by the time you were in high school, you were you'd been doing it for a number of years already.
4 or 5 years. 5 years at that time, by my senior year. So I left high school undefeated in New Jersey. I was the only athlete to win the sectional groups and all groups 4 consecutive years in the same event. I had the state record. I ran 2:03 in high school, which was really fast time. And so I had the state record, one of the best in the country. Then I got recruited to go to college, being the best half mile in the country, to the University of Tennessee.
Now, were you at the school your father was principal of?
No. He was a principal in Patterson Eastside.
Oh, okay.
Patterson, New Jersey. I went to school in South Orange Maplewood School District.
Gotcha.
So that's about 40 minutes away, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Something like that, 35, 40 minutes away. 2 different districts.
Right. So during this time, you're running, and your dad is obviously a huge influence on you,
Yes.
motivating you. Was there anyone else who was sort of an inspiration, like either personally or like in the world of sports?
Well, as a kid, well, your mother and father. My mother's Joetta. She also transitioned in 2020 in March. So he was like the strict disciplinary person, and my mother was kind of like the soother over.
The nurturer.
Yeah, kind of like that. And then, so they were the 2 of them, and then I would watch other athletes, like Wilma Rudolph I was a big fan of her. Of course, you heard of Jesse Owens, but they didn't run my events, so but we were still aware of them and followed their careers. And then when I got a little older, other athletes came into play: Mary Decker, Dave Waddle, people like that, Joan Benoit, Fancy LaRue, that era of athletes. And then I looked up to them, Cheryl Toussaint, I just there weren't that many black distance runners from America. Most of the distance runners that were black were from Africa, something like Kenya.
I heard you say that in a.
So you didn't really have that many for role models. So then you look at Kip Career and people like that you would look at from Africa. But that was again more distance than what I was doing. I was a 8:15 runner. That's a middle distance runner.
Mm-hmm.
So to find someone that looked like me at that time, especially a woman, you really didn't see that.
When did the Olympics become a goal? Was that sort of always a goal, or?
Well, I think as a kid, you hear about the Olympics, and so everyone wants to go to the Olympics. Or you're the next Wilma Rudolph, or you're going to the Olympics. And I would say yes, not really knowing what it took to make the Olympic team, but I heard about the Olympics. So I think it became something that I thought I could really do in high school. So my senior year, I was 17, and I made the Olympic qualifying mark. So I went to the Olympic trials as a senior in high school, and I made the finals, and I took 7th. They only take top 3, but I ran a personal record. We had to run 3 rounds, which is something I didn't do in high school, and at a very high level. So by the time I got to the 3rd round, even though I ran a PR, I just was too young to run much faster than what I did that day. So it was bittersweet. It was sweet because I saw that I could do this eventually, and how good I really was, but not making the team, like, oh man. But I wasn't devastated at that time. I was only 17.
Right. Yeah, you have
so
your
like,
whole.
Oh, you have more. Then I think that's a problem. People, you say you made 4 Olympic teams, and it's like, well, that is really rare because you have to stay. I was on top of the world for 16 years.
Right.
So that's a long time to be at that level of competition. And so, when people say, oh, it was 4 teams, and you go, well, it's harder than that because you don't take off. So, in between, you're still running. And I was blessed to be healthy.
Right.
So I ran for about 28 years or so at a high level.
I mean, right. I mean, to maintain that level of discipline for that long.
I enjoyed it. That's part. I enjoyed it. The ups
routine
and the downs. And you have to remember, too, I came about when the Eastern Bloc countries were there. So even though I was enjoying it, I wasn't making any money at that time. And I wasn't running fast enough to beat them because they were running so fast because of all the drugs and HGH and all the steroids. And it was just, I was just way out of my league. But I look at that now and go, wow. But when you're in the middle of it, you have to work through it because you're going to still run. They're going to do what they do. So you have to do the best that you can do. So that's kind of what I focused on. So when I went to college at the University of Tennessee, I ended up being like a 15-time All-American, 11-time NCAA champion, NCAA records. And at that time, I'm getting faster, but so are the rest of the world because the drugs are still there. So that's in 84. So now I'm at a college, it's like, what do you do? Well, in our sport, everybody couldn't go pro. So I did get a contract from Nike, which was really cool. And I did go pro. It's not the pro that these kids are doing now, but the money and stuff wasn't the same. But because I liked it, I still hung in there. And I was running well enough to stay. I'm like, okay, let's keep doing this. So I stayed there, and I did work and ran. And then, in 1989, that was the big turn because the wall came down in Germany, in Berlin, right?
Right.
So now that's down in the Eastern Bloc country. All that shit shifted. So all of the drugs, all of that stuff just
they couldn't get away with the doping anymore.
Out the window. So now I'm able to run with these people over the next couple of years, and then the rest is, as we say, history.
Wow, that's interesting because I never really connected that with that impact on the world of sports.
Yes, that was that era. So when the wall came down in 89, so then you have 90, 91, then 92. I hung around. I started running really fast. Now I can run with the best in the world. They're running more like 156, 157, as opposed to 154s all the time. And now I'm running 158, so I'm closer. So now I'm getting contracts and sponsorship deals, and then eventually that group goes away, so I'm still here.
Right.
So now I become one of the best in the world.
Was there a big difference then between like the 88 Olympics and the 92 Olympics because of that?
Absolutely, yeah. The time is a big difference in the time. And again, however, as in life, you have obstacles, and even now you still have incidents with enhanced with performing drugs and things. So it still goes on. But if you're going to compete and do anything in life, what you're aware of what other people are doing, but you have to stay focused on what you're doing to maximize your ability. And even though it may be discouraging, and it was at times, I enjoyed running. I enjoyed being clean. I enjoyed representing the country. So I just kind of stayed in my lane and got better and better as I went on. And I've just been blessed to be healthy, not get injured, and to be able to stay in the sport as long as I did. And it became something I identified with as an athlete, as an Olympic athlete, as the USA Olympian. So those became things that I was proud about doing. And again, I never really chased the money, but because it was out there and I knew it was there, I tried to put myself in the best position to be one of the people that would get to maximize that as well. It became a business for me.
Right. Because as long as you're competing in the Olympics, you cannot take endorsements. Is that right? Or
it changed over the years. You can get sponsorship deals.
They used to be stricter.
We were still caught. We're not. Track athletes are still amateur. Even though some of them are making millions, it's still amateur. But then it opened up. You remember in '92, we had the Dream Team come in, so all of that changed. Then golfers and tennis players. So the amateur status of the Olympics kind of changed, so that it is okay to make money and be an Olympian.
Right. Now, when you were in your first Olympics, you were really the only person from your family competing. Yes. But over the years. Yes. You were joined by your sister and your sister-in-law.
Yes.
So in 2000, the three of you were running, and you finished 1, 2, 3 in the qualifying.
Right, at the Olympic trials. So because my sister is 15 years younger, I was 38, she was 23.
Wow.
That was my fourth team. That was her first team. So I was able to stay healthy enough, even though I had a car accident, we talked about that as well, to make the team. And then we were all coached by my brother. My brother married Gerald Miles, who became Clark. And in 2000, she had made 3 teams up to that point. So she made the team in the 400 meters that same year, and then came back a day or two later, and then had to do 3 rounds of the 800, and she made that team as well. So she qualified in the 800 and the 400. But you're right, we went 1, 2, 3 in the 800. And we were coached by my brother, JJ. And I think the proud moment I had was not only did I come back from a major car accident, my mother and father were alive to see us make that team together that year. And they were there in South Carolina to watch. My parents went to all of the Olympic trials. My mother went to all the Olympic games. My parents went to most of my track meets.
I'm getting chills just thinking about what that must have been like for them. They must have been just bursting with pride.
Bursting with pride after I made it. If you watch that video, and your audience can go to YouTube and type in Joetta Clark or either Joetta Clark Diggs, and then they look for the 2000 Olympic trials in the 800, and they'll see us go 1, 2, 3. But I outleaned the third person by a shoulder.
Right.
So although it made history, it could have gone the other way. It made history where the 2 went and I stayed home. So
that would have been a bummer.
Yeah, it would have been a bummer. So they were happy to know that we all made the team together.
Yeah, I was trying to picture myself in that position, like you're competing against your family members, but at the same time you're kind of like a team almost.
We were a team. We trained together too. So remember, it was Team Clark. So my sister had done well in college. She graduated at that time, and had won some NCAA champions and some All-American titles and things like that. As you know, Gerald at that time had gotten 2 gold medals in the Olympics in the 4x4, and she won the world championships in, I want to say 89, something like that, 91, something like that. Everyone had their own accolades, But as I referenced before, in 1998, I had finished, I think, 4th or 5th in the world. That was my world rankings in #1 American. I had a car accident prior to going to Japan. So I went to Newark Airport to pick up my ticket, and then my car was hit by a Mack truck, and I was pinned up against the shoulder of the medium at Newark Airport. And those of you who know the Turnpike, there's a Budweiser building that was there. So that's just where the accident was as I was trying to go into the airport. So I was bedridden from September to December, not doing anything.
Did you think this is it?
Well, I kind of thought it could be it, but I'm one of those people that you have to leave on your own volition, and I was going to at least try and pray to God that was what He wanted me to do. Go try it again. So in '99 of December, I ran maybe 2 or 3 300s. They weren't fast, but I ran them because I wasn't supposed to be able to run again. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So then it was a trying 1999 because I had to get back in shape, tell the body that we're going to fight through this. I'm still in pain. So we had to come back slowly. I had to run races and get beat by people I normally beat. But I had to teach the body that it's not going to be a jogging body. It's going to be a competitive body. So I had to get back into that mode of training and running. So mentally, I had to really dig in. And it was frustrating at times, knowing that the Olympic trials were the next year. And I didn't really see progress at all until maybe June, our USA Championships, and I took either second or third, maybe second, and I made the World Championship team. I'm like, okay, I can get ready this next year. Mm-hmm. So the next year, I just worked really hard. My brother was my coach. I got a team of people, doctors and therapists, to kind of work with me. And I was older. I was 37 at that time. And so I had to really treat the body differently. Some of the workouts that I used to be able to do, I couldn't do anymore. So I had to figure this out differently with the new body, the new car accident, and just knowing that if I'm going to put the effort in, then my mindset is make the Olympic team. Mm-hmm. It's not go to the Olympic trial to say hi and do a farewell tour and wave. It was to make the Olympic team.
Right.
And then with my family. And I was definitely the weakest link. My sister said she was the weakest link. That couldn't be true because she was running phenomenally in college. My sister-in-law was still running phenomenally. They didn't have any injuries. So I was the weakest link by far.
But you had kind of paved the way for them, too.
I may have paved the way for them, and I may have been strong being, like, encouraging them. But I know what workouts needed to be done, which I wasn't doing. Every now and again I could do them. Mm-hmm. But the body, because of the accident, just wouldn't let me do it as often as I needed to. But in life, your mind is really key. And I have a strong mind. So even though there were times when I was kind of talking myself out of stuff, I had to talk myself into it. Into making the Olympic team. Into going after these sponsorships. Into still keeping my business that just started. Keeping the business going. So, because I'm at the end of my career now. So all of these things were going through my mind, and I always say you can doubt anybody you want, but never doubt yourself. And don't count yourself out, count yourself in. So for that year, I was counting myself in, even though when I kept a journal through all the years, I would go back and go, man, I didn't do that. So I have to stop that because that's like the new normal. With the pandemic now, they're new normals. By us or me going back to my journal, looking at what I used to do, that's not going to help me now, because it only will get me frustrated because I'm not able to do it as easily. So what I did was I created a new normal for the new body. My coach, my brother JJ, created new workouts for me with the injuries, and we got through it.
When you talk about a journal, this was times and...
Yeah, a track and field journal that athletes keep, and even people keep. I guess now they would call it journaling. Mm-hmm. Back then it was just a track and field journal. You just wrote the weather, how you felt, what you did, what you ate, the workout, how much you weighed, your body fat, depending on, those details. Right. And then your race performances and what you were thinking. It was a journal. And that's, I guess, that was before journaling came about, but people kept journal diaries of running, diaries of life, It was a track and field diving.
2000, you were actually one of the oldest then at that point ever to qualify, right?
Yes.
And that's to this day.
Yes.
I think it was
38. I was 38, and So now we have some older athletes. I don't know if Justin Gatlin is an older athlete, but he's sprinting. For my event, to find someone my age, 38, making a team is rare, especially in this when you have to have trials. Some countries, they just select you. So you may be 37, 36, and they just select you because there's no one else.
Right. Smaller countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you have to go through a trial season, it's tough to do that at that age. At any age, but definitely older.
So then basically after that Olympics, that was...
Yeah, after the Olympics, I was excited. I didn't run well. I got to the second round, semifinals, got knocked out in the semifinals. And I was sad, but I was like, it was done. It was enough.
Right.
And I was pleased that I was the women's team captain for the USA. That's special. My performance wasn't good, but I was tired. And I just it was a lot mentally to get there. I mean, I may have could have done a little bit better, but I just that was it. And they wanted to do a tour. I'm like, I'm not training anymore. I can't just go out there and run 204, 205 just to see them. I'd rather just go and be introduced as opposed to being in a race running and not running up the par. Plus, you have to train. And I was just done training. I didn't want to train at that level anymore because it was just, I had to do too many precautionary things with treatment and stuff like that because I ripped my obliques in the car after that. I hurt my neck. So it was just too much pre and post conditioning that was different than a basic massage and ice tank that we used back then. It was deeper things, that you had to get done.
What has running been like for you in the 20 years since then?
I don't really run that much. I've done some local runs. I've the VF stuff, and I won my age a couple of times, and I've done some small road races for causes. I think for running, you may see me around jogging every now and again, but I don't really do that much running right now. I have a business called Joetta Fitness, and what we do with Joetta Fitness is that it's a fitness app, and then what we're doing is we're just trying to help people who have 15 or 20 minutes to do a workout. It's not about an hour at the gym, it's about something you could do at home. We say at Joetta Fitness, we meet you where you are. So wherever you are, you can do these workouts, be it cardio, rope, whatever they are. You can do those workouts at home in the morning prior to going to work. That energizes you, starts you up with your day, and you don't have any excuses. It's 15, 20 minutes, and everyone has that. You have to put yourself first. As an athlete, as a person, as a businesswoman that I am, you have to put yourself first. And in doing that, your health is so important. So I think now, if COVID-19 didn't do anything, it should have inspired and encouraged people to take care of themselves. Not saying that if you're healthy, things can happen to you, but the road to recovery may be better. And in order to live a lasting, long, viable life when you're in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, you're going to put the work in now and maintain it as you get older. I'm 59 now, so I'm still doing things that some of the kids can't do. I'm still flexible because I stretch. I was a dancer. I danced with the Avonelli Dance Company when I was younger, the junior company in New York, so I would travel to do that. So I'm still really flexible, and I believe in just maintaining your body form for yourself. Everybody has body structures, however they are, but try to be the best you can be. You can't compare yourself to me, and I'm not comparing myself to you, but everyone has an optimal thing for themselves, and I think in life that's what you should try and do, be the best you can do in sports, in life, as a parent, as a spouse, as an employee or as a business owner. Try to be the best you can be, and you lead by examples.
If I download the Joetta app, I'm not going to make the Olympic team this year.
No, you won't do that, but you will be the champion of your life. You'll be the champion of your life, which is important. So that's what we talk about, being the champion of your life. And I think throughout my life, that's what I speak to. I'm a motivational speaker, so I do a lot of corporate events, a lot of empowerment events, team leadership, team building events. And even though we're doing a lot of that by Zoom now, pretty soon I'll be back into the corporations. Most corporations and colleges reach me, and we do a lot of virtual events, virtual platforms, and they work fine. But it's nothing like having audiences that you can see and talk to them and get feedback and do your skits with them and your team building activities that you do. So those are very helpful. So I still do a lot of my speaking. I have my Joetta Fitness, which is something that I do with my partner, and it's exciting. So I can't wait for it to be launched in July. We have our routines and everything together. We're going to go to the studio and start shooting. So I'm excited about that. And again, at Joetta Fitness, we believe in, 6 to success. So it's about the core, it's cardio, it's abs, legs, arms, and glutes. And so you can click on whatever you want. If you want to do all of it in the session, you can do that as well. So I think that because of my background in sports, this was a natural thing for me to do. Besides the motivational speaking, the book, the podcast, and then the body flash, it all came from sports. I'm like, be the champion of yourself. And people would always say, man, if I could just be you. It can't be me, but you can have a piece of me if I have a product. So the product was my body splash, my lotion, and my perfume. And so you can't be Joetta, but you can have a piece of Joetta. So when you put it on, it invigorates you to be the champion that you are. So that's what everything focuses on, that I do focuses on, helping people to maximize their skill sets and then to be that champion of their lives.
I'm curious about nutrition and what your approach is to it, and do you ever advise other people about that? Have you ever thought about launching a line of power bars?
Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but that would be a great collaboration. I would be a spokesperson for that, because I do believe in energy foods and proper products, but I have not developed that product. But I, if I was approached or wanted to partner with someone on that, I would definitely think that a nutritional bar, a healthy bar, is important. Nutrition is very important, and I think early on my mother just cooked healthy foods, and we ate with the family at dinner and things like that, vegetables and fruits and greens, and we ate healthy foods, not much junk at all. We used to call Ritz crackers cookies. So when people would come over, they'll, want some cookies? They're like, we're the Oreos. We don't want a Ritz cracker. But we loved them. And you put some jelly on the Ritz cracker, peanut butter on the Ritz cracker back then. We didn't have the Ritz cracker sandwiches that they have now. We made our own. So my mother made sure we ate healthy meals, and over the years you start taking vitamins and things like that, and you had a nutritionist on board to watch your numbers, to know your iron and things like that, because it became a business.
Right.
So now we're monitoring those factors in the body. So no, I don't have a nutrition line, but I'll be excited to do. But I think that everything is in time and in stages. So what I'm doing now post-track is exciting, but it's also exciting for me to stay grounded, because my daughter Talitha is still running. I still have my camps that I've done. It's a 20 year.
I want to talk about the camp.
Sure.
Yeah, like you said, 20 years you've had a camp for track and field.
Yes.
For kids 7 to 18.
Yes.
And this year it's going to be hosted at Saucon Valley.
Yes.
Which is super exciting. We had a story about that on Saucon Source about a week ago. Tell us about why it's so important to you to give back and what the kids are getting out of this.
Well, I have a foundation called the Joetta Clark Diggs Sports Foundation. And the foundation was founded 20 years ago now. And the basis of the foundation was to introduce nutrition, bullying, sports, and sports careers to kids, Head Start, pre-K, and high school, through and up. So with that, the track and field camp started because I said, well, I'm not running, so let's have a camp. And so we did a one-day camp, and we had like 120 kids for one day. So then we did a 3-day camp, same amount of kids. So then we did a 5-day camp. So the third year of my camp was a 5-day camp, and they were all done in New Jersey. And then we got various sponsors, Johnson & Johnson, Horizon, Panasonic, to sponsor the camp, the city of Newark, to make it affordable, and even in some cases free. So over the years, I worked hard to get sponsors, and my foundations will match it. so that we can have a camp that's affordable. And it doesn't matter where you live, it's just, this is the price of the camp. So when we do a camp this July 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. So it's only Tuesday through Friday. The last 5 years or so, we made it a 4-day camp, down from 5 days, because a lot of times in the summer people are traveling. So that happens to be July 4th weekend. So no one's coming home on the 5th. So why don't even do it the 5th?
Right.
And then do it on Tuesday. So we do our camps Tuesday. Sometimes, most of them are Monday through Thursday. But with July 4th, we did it Tuesday through Friday. And Bob Fry, the AD over at Saucon, I approached him. He said, sure. And so we got everything in play. All of our camps obviously have insurance. Our staff have all now been vaccinated, so that's good. We have all level 2 certified staff. All of our coaches have been certified and also have been fingerprinted, so that's good to have. So we're just moving in a positive direction. I said, well, let's do a camp here. I see a lot of kids running and jogging. Let's try it. So far so good with our response. We're only going to take about 75 kids this time. So if you are interested in being part of the camp, you can visit the website, which is JoettaSportsandBeyond.com, or just Google my name, Joetta Clark Diggs, it comes up. And then the camp is 8:30 to 3 o'clock, Tuesday through Friday. We provide snacks, but no lunch. The camp is a grassroots camp, but sometimes we have a lot of amazing campers to come that have been really running. And our camp prides ourselves on the type of people that have come through it and gone on to be Olympians and world champions and NCAA, All Americans. We have that tier. And then we have kids that come back saying, I remember your quotes that you used to give us, because we have homework assignments for our kids, because we have special guests every lunchtime. And so usually it's an Olympian, that surprise guest that comes in. So we're going to do the same thing for this camp. And it should be fun.
I think Saucon Source is going to drop by for this.
Sure,
the surprise guest.
Come on down for every lunchtime. We have the surprise guest. Well, the surprise guest comes all day.
Oh, okay.
But at lunchtime, they speak. And then the kids do the homework assignment on the next guest.
Oh, wow.
So they know who's coming the next day.
That's a great way to keep them engaged.
Yes, keep them engaged, yes. And the kids will come from all over the Lehigh Valley area. Again,
and it's different skill levels, right?
Different skill levels. So you're matched based upon your skill level, not particularly age, because someone 12 or 13 could have the talent of someone that's 14, 15. So it's skill based, and if they've never done sports before, one thing about our camp that we always have done from the beginning, we introduce the different events in the sport. So my father said you're running distance, but I might have been a good long jumper, but I never would have tried it because I wasn't allowed to do that. So at this camp, you can float to whatever event that you want. The coaches will say, hey, we think this will be best, but if you don't want to do this, you can do this. So we kind of rotate them that. And by the second day, they kind of know what they want to do. And then if there's 2 events they want to do, sprints and hurdles, they go between those events. If it's long jump and high jump, or long jump and hurdles, they go between those events.
Sounds like a fantastic event and so important. I mean, just to have things like that for kids. I mean, especially when you look at like childhood obesity levels.
Yes.
Unbelievable today, and anything that gets them moving is gonna be a positive.
Gives them moving, but gives them structure. I think my camp is different. It's not about just moving. It's about providing a structure for them to have fun, to be safe, and to learn, and then to take that home with them in the summer, then use it throughout the rest of the school year. So, you can stay home and get moving, realistically, but to get moving with other kids in a structured environment that's safe and inviting, that is what separates our camp. And then to have me there, I go to all of my camps. I'm there every single day. Even when my mother was sick and doing her cancer treatments, I would go every day. I would bring her. She would stay in the hotel room, and I have someone watching. So I'm there at my camp. And I think for me, it brings me joy to meet my campers, and then now to see them come back and say what we did. Because they come back as junior counselors now. Some of my older ones come back and they volunteer as a junior counselor.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it was really cool to see that they want to be part of the camp, and the kids see them go, wow, you were a camper too. Talitha should be back here to be part of the camp as a junior counselor.
Oh, wow.
She's been a junior counselor for the last 2 or 3 years now. So she comes back. So that'd be fun.
So do you get to go down to Florida
Yeah.
to see her much, or?
Well, I do. My father lived in Florida, so as he was going through his transitioning period, I would go down all the time. And so I go, the indoor season, there were no spectators.
Mm-hmm.
Outdoor season, there's some. So I have been to all of her meets so far, the ones that I can go to. Unfortunately, the NCAAs and the Olympic trials right now, because they're in Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
they're closed. So as far as spectators are concerned, very limited with the athletes, the coaching staff, the volunteers. It's really tight. So I have to decide how I'm going to do that. But the SEC meet and those meets, I will attend those meets and support her. And it's really good to see her grow from Saucon and to take Saucon with her. She loves the area. She's really a big Saucon fan. She misses the community. So she always says, I'm representing the 484 to 610. So she's really excited to be from a smaller town, but being on a big stage and being able to do well in school, well in sports, and then bring pride to her community. That's what she always wants to do and talks about. Even at graduation, when she did the graduation speech, she talked about that connection of the community.
So she really considers Hellertown her home
Yes.
at this point.
Yes,
That's awesome.
definitely. She's not. I'm Jersey girl. She says it's the same. She does. Jersey raised me, but Saucon Valley made me, is what she says.
Oh, wow.
That's
I
what
like
saying, 'cause
that.
She stayed. We were there when she was like 6 or 7. Then we came here. So that's her quote.
I hope to hear her say that on the Olympic podium
Yeah,
someday.
that'd be great. That'd be great. If you have her on your show, I'm sure she'll say that as well.
Oh, we'd love to have her
Yeah.
on sometime.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your book that you published?
Sure. I published a book back in 2009, might be now. And the purpose of the book was to talk about the Joetta P principles of life lessons learned through track and field. So basically the book is a book that's a study guide, because at the end of each chapter there are questions. And corporations use the book for team leadership. Colleges use the book for the freshman experience. And so that's how the book is used now. When I do a lot of my speaking events, they buy the books for giveaways for the audience. So I haven't made a second book, but the first book, the P's, are still relevant. So the first P is, what is your purpose? And this is not just track, this is life. I'm one of those people that believe that sports brings us together, and sports gave me a platform to make a difference. So by me being able to empower people through my experiences through track and field and business, that makes me excited, that makes me happy. So the P's are part of my platform that resonate in everyone's life. So what is your purpose? And then how do you prepare? And then you have to be patient. And then you have to get perturbed. I like that one, because there's a point where you have to say, you know what? I am just perturbed. I'm pissed off. I have to be proactive and get moving now. I often say there's a time in life where you have to go from zero to 100. What's the rest of that? You know the rest of that?
Real quick.
Real quick. There you go. So 0 to 100 real quick. And that's when you're perturbed. And then you persevere. And then I put a 6th one in over the years, and that's pray. So those are my P's. And when I do corporate events, I elaborate on those topic areas, and then I bring it back home based upon what the groups want. Same thing with colleges and teams and in graduation. So the book is used primarily to talk about the P's, and as a study guide and a giveaway for people. And the book can be found on my website as well.
And speaking of P's, podcast.
Yes, podcast. I have a podcast, and the podcast is being sponsored again by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and we'll go on the podcast. The first one is going to probably be after you have the show, but the second one, it'll be every week starting May 5th, so May 5th, 12th, 19th, and so forth and so on. And the first 4 series, we're talking about the pandemic. and pressures of the pandemic. And we have various guests on the show talking about different things. Wes Morris from Saucon Valley Massage would be one of our guests, and he's talking about stress and anxiety. So you'll be able to go to my website to hear those comments about that show. And then we have someone else. So there are different topics that COVID-19 and the pandemic made us aware of, and that Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield is very focused on community, families, kids, and also mental and physical health.
And that's right in your wheelhouse too. So
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yes. And I know Wes he's such an inspiring person himself, yes. And also he knows Talitha, I know, and so
he worked with Talitha often, like regularly. He was her go-to person massage-wise, but also like a mentor, giving her little tidbits and speeches and motivational quotes, because as you know, it doesn't listen to mom. 4-time Olympian, doesn't matter. Motivational speaker for over 25
You're still
years.
Mom.
Still mom, and sometimes, most of the time, more other people know more than I do. So for her, mommy doesn't know anything, they do. So I'm okay with that at times, and I make sure that I surround her with people with like minds, so she's still getting their information, but is in line with what I think that she needs to have.
Does she get advice from her aunt, or
I think from time to time they talk about stuff. The two aunts of her uncle. I think that in sports and track and field, though, she goes to her godfather who coached her all the time, Tyrone. And then my brother Jay, I don't know if he really gives he's a coach too, he's at Stanford now. Doesn't really give her tidbits. I think her auntie Peachy may give her more tidbits, and Auntie Gerald, I don't really think she says much about track to her. She may say good job, but as far as going over X's and O's, I don't think so. They probably do more with just having, good luck, stay focused type thing. But I think her Auntie Peachy goes more into details as to what she's going to experience and what not to do and what to do. I think she does that. None of us really give her race strategy. They don't really give us race strategy. That would come from a college coach and maybe a high school coach more than me. I just tell her to be in shape, stay close, that type of thing. Believe in yourself. You can do it. You're really, be who you're meant to be. Don't worry about anyone else's lane. If you've done the hard work, if you put the work in, no one's gonna beat you. I give her that tidbit. I don't call her up and say, hey, tell your coach to give you this workout. I didn't do that in high school, and I definitely don't do it now. I was called the implementer in high school, so I was the one that got the equipment, that made sure she was in the meets, that made sure that we had our hotels and the car rental and the plane flights. That was my job.
The implementer.
Implementer, yes.
That sounds intimidating.
Yeah, I guess it is, but that's what I done. So when we went to a meet, they knew everything was the way it was supposed to be.
I wanted to go back a little bit and talk about your dad a little bit more, because, like you said, he was this famous educator.
Yes.
And he became famous for his tough love approach to discipline in the high school where he was at Eastside High School in Paterson, New Jersey.
Right.
He was featured in Time magazine, yes. And then that led to the movie
yes.
Lean on Me.
Yes.
What was that like during that time period? Was that
I was away. I was in college when that whole thing was happening. My sister was home. She was little. So she was around all of that. And it was amazing. And he really enjoyed his job. He enjoyed supporting the kids. And he was in a rough neighborhood. We didn't grow up there, but his district was really tough. And he just wanted the kids to have an equal opportunity as far as the basic doors. Then when the doors were open, anyone could just come in. So that's why he changed the doors. He wanted them to have alternative programs, like we do at Saucon. If you're not on the mainstream education system, you go through the alternative schools and you learn a skill. Well, they didn't have that. So he was just trying to provide different opportunities for these kids to be successful. And so they loved him. The parents may not have. The board did not, because he was orthodox with his way of running the building, but you had to first make it safe, and then once it's safe, you can start changing the mindsets of the teachers to educate the kids who they most of the time thought that were not able to succeed. So his first graduation class, they have done some amazing things. Lawyers and doctors and construction companies they own, just doing amazing things. And it all started when he got there. That was his first class, those first 4 years. He was really excited about those students that came through under him from his first year into their 4th year in. And then the movie came. The movie was a real life. It was him. If you Google Joe Clark and you see some of the characters that were in his real life, you see them in the movie. The lady that was always causing problems and havoc in the movie was a real live person you see on YouTube. The boys that were singing in the bathroom, they were a real live group. The the real live guy. I forgot his name, but those were real experiences. And Morgan Freeman, as he said, didn't do him just, but I think he did. He did a great job, and actually, he should have won an award for that movie. He was so on at the time, and it's being played over and over again now. I mean, I come across some people who said they've never seen it that are in our age group. I'm like, how was that possible? Some of the younger people may not have seen it, but the older people definitely have seen it. So I say, if you haven't seen it and you're in my age group, you need to go back and look at it because it's an amazing movie.
Well, and it's a movie with a message that still resonates today.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
A lot of schools, even schools in the affluent areas now have police officers in them. I don't know what they want to call it. They call them a different name, but still have that in the school. You have the dogs in the schools in some of the affluent areas. You still have the metal detectors in schools. So, and in light of the shootings and the bullying and just all of that, I think he was ahead of his time because he had a no-nonsense policy. And his school was black, some white, and Hispanic. And so, no nonsense. You didn't pick on anybody, rich or poor. It doesn't matter. We're all one and we can all learn. And so I think when his grades and test scores started going up, the pride of the school, the building of the kids, that changed. And my father was really good at getting the best out of the kids, his kids, the students, and the staff. He had high expectations, and I get that from him and my mother. My mother had a business in the city of Newark before the riots came in 1967. And so it was a level of excellence that was always expected. And then when you carry yourself that way, it encourages other people to do that and be that best person. So he lived by example, and what he did for those kids, he did the same thing for us. No nonsense. You're going to go to school, you're going to graduate. College is not an option. Our parents believed in that. You're smart, you could be athletic, you could be smart, you could be attractive or pretty. My brother was handsome because he was a guy, so was attractive, but pretty with the girls. You could do all of that, but you have to have a character for that. So they developed character, and we developed something that, we didn't look down on people. No matter what we had or what someone else didn't have or whatever, we didn't do that. And so they believe that, you're a hero today and a bum tomorrow. Don't burn those bridges. Just because someone doesn't have what you have or going where you're going doesn't mean they can't get there. So that's how we were raised, and that's how Talitha's been raised as well. And I think that the kids at Patterson East Side were thankful for having him there. On May 20th, they had given him the key to the city of Patterson, New Jersey. So we're going to go back up for that.
Oh, wow.
My father's transition was difficult because he was so famous. We didn't know how famous he was, how loved he was all over the world. Not only in Patterson and New Jersey, but all over the world. We got so many letters and emails and Facebooks. It was just overwhelming from all of the kids, the relatives. It was a lot. And you just forget that. And then to see everything played again on TV for that time period, it was difficult. But he left a mark. And the goal is to have the legacy continue through us and through his granddaughter, Talitha. He has 3 grandkids. My parents have Talitha, who's the oldest, Jarrell, who's 14, and then the baby, who's 3. We call the baby Peachy, baby Hazel. my sister's name is Hazel, so it's Baby Hazel, Little Hazel. She doesn't have her own nickname. She has her mother's nickname. So it's funny that she has a nickname after her mother.
It's just an incredible story, and I think I read that maybe this was over the course of his entire career, but like something like 300 students were expelled from that school, which sounds amazing, but
it was a big school, but it was amazing, but it was disheartening in that it had to happen. The kids again were they were seniors but only had sophomore credit. There was a lot of stuff like that, but he eventually got the alternative program for that student.
Mm-hmm.
And so he believed a man in earnest can't be concerned with consequences. So he had a goal, he had a purpose, and he couldn't be concerned with the consequences. He knew what had to happen in that district. And quite frankly, I think if he was in education now, the way schools are in a lot of these districts, he would probably do some of the same antics, even though the parents may not, or the board may not approve of it. He will have done it for that district. So for that time, for that era, for that district, that is what was needed. And I think in a lot of these other districts, you need someone that is strong, that is forceful, that is compassionate, but no nonsense. You're going to go to school, you're going to be kind, you're not going to bully people, you're going to learn, you're going to graduate, and you're going to aspire to other higher heights, be it college, alternative schools, be it whatever it is. There's something better for you to do, and he and the staff that he had working for him was going to make sure that these kids got that.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because if you think about it, just one student who doesn't want to be there in a classroom can drag that whole class down.
Yes.
So if you remove that student, it creates an environment in which the other students can succeed.
But you can't remove them unless they don't have... He removed the kids that were like 20 and 19 and 20,
right,
still in high school with sophomore credits. That's a distraction.
Absolutely.
That kid has to go to an alternative school. They have to have some other options, which they ended up getting. You can't have someone 21, 22 that's sophomore credits in high school.
Right.
So what skill sets can they develop in an alternative school? And that is the piece that was missing, but they ended up getting it at that school. So you have that. A lot of Saucon has that program already. I'm sure Liberty and Freedom and those schools have that alternative school as well.
Right. No, it's definitely a different environment today with education. Administrators are under a lot more scrutiny and pressure from parents. Right. And
but he held himself accountable for us, so he would hold the parents accountable as well. And I think that when you have strong parent support, it holds the teachers accountable, it holds the board accountable, and ultimately it helps the kids.
Yeah.
And so if you fast forward to 2021, my father, my mother, they're who they are. Their character is who they are. But they would try and make it work within the new world, the new system. So would he carry a bullhorn and baseball bat? Probably, because that's who he is. Would he be stern with the board and the superintendent of schools? Probably, that's who he is. Would he expel all the kids out at once? Probably, but what he would have to do now is he would have to be aware of social media and all that. It's different.
Which twists things around,
right,
to create a different narrative.
But my father believed in, and I believe is as long as they're talking about it, they're talking about you, that's good, and it provides a platform for you now to go on and tell the real truth. So that's how he would look at that. And everybody's not cut out like that. I mean, I take a lot of his after him a lot, and then I have some of my mother as well. I'm kind of a combination of both of them. Yeah, but I do think it's important in business and the community to make sure that you're making a difference, but you have to be that difference. So if you hear me talking like this, you're not going to see me out there doing something the opposite.
Right.
I'm going to be consistent about what I'm doing. I want to be a kind person, a person that knows that there's a God and a higher power, but a person that wants to give back and see people transform and to empower people to be the best that you can be. It's not about being the best Joetta or Josh. It's about being the best you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do that, then you'll leave a legacy for your family. You'll make a difference in the world, and you'll make this place a better place, a place where everybody can get along together. And I go back to my camp. The camp is a diverse camp. These kids will get along just fine.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have fun. There'll be different age groups, different sexes, different ethnicities there. But the bottom line is that we can all get along. We can all strive to be better. And, each one will teach one. My staff will teach, will educate, and we have no nonsense. There's a no nonsense policy. No bullying, no talking about anybody, embracing everybody's identity. That's very important. And so that's what we do. And you run and you have fun.
Well, having fun is certainly important.
Yes.
And you had a quote about the camp that I just wanted to highlight because I loved it so much.
Okay.
Where you said, it's not about making these students Olympians, it's about making them the champions of their lives.
Right.
That is way more important than being an Olympian.
Absolutely. And so it's about being a champion of your life. So when I go across the country and I'm speaking to college students, or if I'm speaking to little kids in elementary, middle school, pre-K, what do you like to do? And we get to that. So how are you going to go about being that champion? You look at other people and say, okay, that's interesting, but your road to get there may be different. So with my podcast, we end up by saying, it doesn't matter what road you travel, but what matters is what you become along that road.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever road we're traveling, what are you becoming along that road as you travel?
Absolutely. So important. So just kind of closing out a little bit,
Okay.
what besides the camp,
Yes.
what else, now that COVID is sort of waning, what else are you looking forward to this year?
Besides the camp, well, I normally shut down in July, and I normally would travel. So this summer, after the camp is over with in early July, I don't know how much traveling I'm going to personally do into other countries, but I will do some USA traveling and enjoy the experience that way. I think it'll be good. I will get back into schools, doing my programs in schools, and I'm back on the circuit speaking at women's events and other corporate events as a motivational speaker. So that's what I will do, and I'm starting to get booked now. I booked 6 months out, so that's good to see. I'm getting booked in person.
Mm-hmm.
Still with some guidelines, but in person. And my brand, I go by one name. I go by just Joetta. So you have Prince, you have Oprah, you have Madonna, Magic, you have Joetta. And so that is consistent with the product line, the Joetta beauty line, the Joetta moves, Joetta beauty line, Joetta gives. And so it's just the one name. It's the brand.
Right.
And I think that's who I am. I'm just Joetta, not Joetta Clark Diggs, just Joetta. And everything that I do is about being excellent. And that's what Joetta is. And there have been times when things have been rough. Everything has not been easy.
Mm-hmm.
Making an Olympic team, starting a business, and being a businesswoman for over 25 years. As you know, most businesses don't make it past 5.
Right.
So to be able to be in that world. But there's so much more for me to do. I'm excited about it. So when I talk about my projects and the things that I want to bring to the world, it's just about aligning myself with the right people to make it come to fruition. You're only as good as your team. So teamwork makes the dream work. But you need a nice team around you to say, yes, that's good, no, that's bad, oh, let's work that through, or not yet. You need to have that group. So you're only as strong as your team. And you gotta have a team around you that you believe in, that understands your vision, that's not gonna clip your wings. Once you find that group or that person or those people, you ride them out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like LeBron James, his team was his buddies. They weren't educated at the time. He sent them to school. They got the degrees, and now they're part of the $1 billion industry, $1 billion.
Right. That's been in the news. Yeah.
So he knew those guys could do it, but they were just not polished enough. So he got the education. So same with my team. I have people that I have to help along with, and people that haven't helped me. So it's about raising up each other and seeing the ability that they have and believing in them and helping them get to that level that can help you. Sometimes right now, if you're looking for a publicist, or if I'm looking for a branding person or whatever, you have to be able to to one, know you need that on your team,
Right.
and then two, find someone that can bring that to fruition with you. So.
Yeah, and you're gonna stay in Saucon Valley, like you
Forever.
like, because you could live anywhere. I mean,
I don't know about forever. That last snowstorm had me out there, shoveling and plowing and snow.
it was a bad winter.
That was not, but it was bad. But then I was also thankful for the businesses that now had work, that hadn't had work in a while. The
True.
resorts, the people moving the snow. It was just, so although it was not good for me particularly, because I don't particularly want to go skiing and like the cold anymore, but for that market it was really good. So that was really good to see.
Well, you
that.
definitely can't run in that.
Definitely can't run in that. Not trying to run in that. And I had enough of that. So will I be here forever? I don't know about forever, but I'm here for now. And I will just enjoy and make the most of what the community, what the valley has.
And we're close to New York, close to Philly.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. As you have an airport, so that's good too.
Right. Are you gonna be watching the Olympics this summer?
Yes, I will watch. I don't know if Talitha's going to make it. That's the plan is that she does. I will not go over specifically because they're not going to have any spectators.
No.
there.
Yeah.
And even at the Olympic trials right now, there are no spectators. And NCAA's. So if I do go to the Olympic trials, I'll just be there because she's there. And her first team, I'm
Right.
18. I was 17 when I went to my first Olympic trials. So just from that piece, and then there may be some other friends there, but it really, if you want to see a run, you're not going to see a run in person, so you might as well just stay home and watch it on TV.
Right.
But because
Pop some
I don't
popcorn.
mind being there with some of my Olympic buddies and that whole,
Right.
it gives me a different thing to support her, and then when I'm not in the stadium, I can hang out with them. Again, if I could get into the stadium, it would be just pro Talitha because I would be there every single day. But not being in the stadium, not possibly being around her because they still quarantine you.
Right.
They still don't want you around, even though I have my shots and everything. The team, the University of Florida coaching staff, it's kind of hard to. You're not going out to eat dinner with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different.
Plus, just going to Japan, it's a long flight.
Well, going to Japan is a long flight, and you have to. If I'm going way out there, it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But don't be surprised if I say I'm out there and I'm just hanging out in Japan in the hotel, not being able to go to the games. But I don't know about that one. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right now, she has a qualifying walk for the Olympic trials in the 400. So that's what she'll do.
Have you attended other Olympics since you competed?
No, because I was supposed to go in 4 and 8, but I had her in 2002.
Oh, okay.
So she was too young for me in 2004. And in 2008, I didn't want to. I just
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I haven't been back since. But I watched it on TV and have a good time doing that. But
Does it take you back emotionally, kind of?
sometimes it does. To that point, it was sad because we had tickets for Talitha to go to the Olympic trials. That was a graduation present.
Oh, wow.
So I had lined up first class tickets, and I had people, and I had this, and I pulled out all the stops for being Olympian. If it was something for Olympians that we can get tickets, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had really gone over the top for a graduation present, and then that didn't happen. So she still owed a graduation present somewhere. That's going to still stay on the table.
She's not going to forget about that.
No, I won't forget that either. I will remember that one. Now, some other things I might forget, but that one I will remember your graduation present, no matter how old we get, but things get back to a point where I feel comfortable going somewhere where she wants to go now.
Right. Class of 2020. Can't ever forget that one.
Well, they were a resilient class. They got through a lot.
They really were.
They did a lot in the graduation. They pulled it off.
It was a great ceremony.
Yeah, it was really, really great. Principal and Fry and the mothers.
It's a lot of work to do that, yeah.
Pull it off, and they did a fantastic job. Actually, I liked it a lot that way with the big screen. I thought it was pretty cool to do it that way. I mean,
it seemed like each student kind of got more attention by doing it that way, which was nice. I thought. Compared to like the regular way.
For a small school too, it worked out.
Right.
Some of the other districts are big, and but they broke them down like from A to D or E to
Yeah.
F, whatever. They did it like that. So
I was in a class of like 500, so I was just a number.
yeah, so
basically.
was I. Yes. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I just want to remind listeners about how they can connect with you. Your website is joettasportsandbeyond.com.
Yes.
And of course, you're on social media.
I am. The Twitter is at New Joetta. There's NEW and then JOETTA. And then if they go to the website, there's a comment place or a spot where they can ask questions, and they can
Lots
do
of
that.
ways to connect with you. And
Track camp information is up there. We are going to shut down early, I think. So if you do want your child to come to the camp and get the early bird rate, which is over, I think, June 1st. There are two different rates. Saucon gets a discount all the time, but if you're out of Saucon, then there are two rates. There's an early bird rate and then the regular rate.
right.
So
And then, of course, your app, you said it, Joe Time is coming out in July.
Time Fitness comes out in July. That's the app, the fitness app. You can buy my body supplies, my body products on the website too.
Fantastic.
And then if you want me to speak for you, or if you want me to speak to your students or your colleges or your business, you can contact me as well to do motivational, inspiring, and empowerment speeches.
Yes, definitely reach out to Joetta for that, because she is an inspiration. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank both of you.
No Rain Date is an original production of Saucon Source LLC. Our theme music is provided by This Way to the Egress. For more great music by them, be sure to follow This Way to the Egress on Spotify. Thank you for listening.